Rock Band, a music rhythm game series by Harmonix that started all the way back in 2007. Through the years, games in the series would come and go, but one thing that stayed consistent was its downloadable content. The very same day of Rock Band 1's release was the start of the series' infamous DLC, with songs being put out every week with only a few exceptions. This schedule continued until Harmonix eventually put an end to it in 2013, stating that the studio's resources were needed for other projects. But like the legend of the Phoenix, the series rose from its ashes 2 years later with a brand new game, Rock Band 4, and another schedule of DLC ready to be released week after week after week after week. This would continue without fail despite the games, as well as the rhythm game genre in general, waning in popularity. It's an amazing feat, and it's one that brought a bit of concern with it. Just how long would this be able to go on for? If Rock Band fell once, when will it inevitably fall again? In 2021, it was announced that Epic Games had acquired Harmonix so that they may help out with Fortnite and its many music experiences. Depending on who you talk to, this was good or bad news. Some were happy that Harmonix were given a chance to work on one of the biggest games of all time, while others felt this spelled the end for Rock Band, as well as their other games. As stated in the announcement though, that was far from the truth. But only time would tell if this would stay the truth. Time would pass, and in winter of 2023, Epic would reveal that 3 new game modes would enter the Fortnite metaverse: Rocket Racing, LEGO Fortnite, and Fortnite Festival. With not even half of a glance needed, one could tell that this was a Harmonix effort, and with the release of Fortnite Festival in December 2023, things were looking very uncertain. This new game, which is obviously Harmonix and especially Epic's priority, had people wondering about where Rock Band 4 fits in the grand scheme of things. Fortnite is gigantic and dwarfs even many of gaming's biggest names, so people were justifiably worried about the state of the little rhythm game that could. Festival is practically the same as Rock Band, but in Fortnite's much more popular ecosystem. Is there no longer a need for the original? Well, just 1 month later, in January 2024, it was announced that Rock Band was once again being taken out behind the barn and having its weekly DLC support killed. To commemorate, 2 weeks of songs were released to bring this era to a close. There were 5 songs. The songs released in the first week were Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John and Our Love Will Still Be There by the Trogs. The final week played us out with Wherever You Will Go by The Calling, Thank You by Dido, and Send Me On My Way by Rusted Root. All songs certainly fitting of the theme of saying goodbye, but for some reason, it all felt off. This is where I'm going to take a more likely biased observation of the situation, but trust me, I'll make it quick. There are 2 things that bother me more than they should with Rock Band's Second Death. And the first is the selection. Now don't get me wrong, these are all great tracks, and it shows that even in the very end, Harmonix was willing to pay the big bucks for people like Elton John to appear. But comparing these 5 songs to the singular song released for Rock Band 3's death, the finality is trivialized. There's quantity this time around, which is great, but with that, it felt bloated and more like an excuse to just put out as many songs as possible before Harmonix was forced back into the Fortnite mines. American Pie was precise. It perfectly fit the theme of the situation more than these 5 great songs ever could. Because not only was the music dying, but our video game was too. It's totally unfair to compare like this because honestly, nothing could ever outdo American Pie. So allow me to switch to my final point of this wasn't the end. With the end of Rock Band 3's DLC, that was it. There was nothing left to look forward to as a player and likely as Harmonix. Our baby was gone and there was nothing we could do to replace it. But we didn't want to. This was the end of an era, but we wanted to celebrate. There was so much more to Rock Band 3's farewell in terms of build-up. For one, the end was announced like a month beforehand compared to the week or so that Rock Band 4 got. There was a stream of employees and fans gathered in a theater, having fun playing the game before revealing the final DLC. A retrospective of the series was released on the day of the DLC's release, a heart-wrenching final farewell on Harmonix's side as they look towards the future. So much love was poured into the end of 3 that when you look over at 4, you can't help but feel a little betrayed. All you got were the final week of songs and a blog post that pretty much just tells you to go play Fortnite Festival. Fortnite Festival is a great game, and I have nothing against Harmonix or Epic for making the smart business move to fully support the game that prints money, but knowing that Rock Band's death was rushed so they can just move on to working on Festival hurts. It hurts a lot. Rock Band's a series that has been with me for over half of my life. It's shaped my music taste like nothing else has, except for maybe Grand Theft Auto, and with it, I've created so many happy, wonderful memories, alone or with friends and family, that'll stick with me till the day I die, and maybe even after. And the fact that its blood is on and in Harmonix's newest endeavor really puts a blemish on the game that'll likely take a while for a man-child like me to get over. But if Harmonix could get over the loss of their baby, then so can I. Will I fully move on to Festival? It's uncertain. Likely not. Will I keep playing Rock Band 3 and 4? Buying DLC on occasion and playing with or without friends? You know the answer to that.